Shabbat Shalom to all of you. This morning, we are going to deal with the parasha Toledot. This parasha is one that very briefly way makes Isaac as the main author or the principal hero in all this story, even that there are other parts that we can see about him before and after this parasha. But here, Isaac is the center. The other parashas, they talk about Abraham Avinu, from Lech Lecha until the last one, and then after this is going to be Jacob and Esau and the patriarchs, the children of Jacob, and the formation of the basis for the formation of the people called Israel. Isaac is a very special personality, very special type in the scriptures. He is described as a very mild, very calm, in the Hebrew. He was no a fighter or somebody who will take weapons against anybody. He didn't do like his father did to form an army and to fight, or he was not like his children that they were running away, or they were hunters, or the other was calmed down and was forced to flee from his brother. Isaac is the only one of the patriarchs, the state where he was born, didn't go too far. Went from Beersheba to the farthest that he went was to Gaza, Asa, we call it. That was the farthest place that he went, to the Philistines territory. That was the farthest that he went. Interestingly enough, he is described not only as a very mild person, but he avoided constantly any type of fights or struggles or strifes or anything like that. He was a typical peacemaker. He didn't want to fight with anybody. Here comes a very interesting picture or figure, let me put it better. It is a woman. This woman is called Rivka. And Rivka really plays a very important role over Isaac. Isaac, it is described that before he was very close to his mother, to the point that finally when he finds a wife in Rivka, by the way, he didn't find the wife. The wife finds him. Okay? Then I want that you see these pictures. Every man would like to say, I found my wife, I look for it. In this case, they brought his wife to him. Yeah? The only thing that he needed to say, she's for me. No? Then he replaced his mother with his wife. No? The scripture they tell us that he knew Rivka and he was comforted by the death of his mother, and Rivka became not only his wife, not only his mother, and maybe sometimes his own daughter. Rivka was his world. He was happy. For 20 years, they didn't have children. He was happy. But who was not happy? Rivka. What a mother wants to be. Or what a woman wants to be. A mother, Then, according to the Midrashim, Rivka complained to Yitzhak and say, ask your God, because I am barren, I don't have a chance. And he said, what to me? I don't have the power. Maybe it's your problem, not mine. But he went and intercede, and immediately Rivka got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, it looked like that she started complaining. No, women. I'm sorry, ladies. But, you want to get pregnant, and then when you're pregnant, you complain. It's hard to understand. For us men, that we do not know that part. But then she goes and inquires to our Creator. And he, in a special way, blessed be his name, answered to her and give it a word. And the word is that she is holding in her wounds 2 nations, goyim, 2 people. And these nations are going to be there, look like struggling, and suddenly one is going to serve the other. By the way, why I say one is going to serve the other? Because in the Hebrew language, it's not clear if the older is going to serve the younger, or the younger is going to serve the older. In the Hebrew language, it's very unclear. You can interpret it in one or the other way. Many of the rabbis have said that all depends, how you see it. Now, the question always in the Midrashim, they ask is, did Rivka share with Isaac about this revelation? We do not know. Some they say yes, some they say no. If they say yes, the question then will go back to Isaac. How Isaac, knowing his special calling and having been instructed by his own father, Abraham Avinu, about the special role that he occupied, and that the role was to bring to the rest of the world the only God, the only supreme being, the Creator, to the rest of humanity. Who was going to be the best of the children that he had to do that job? Well, if you knew the character of both, what we are reading and the description in the Torah in these passages, we see that Esau was a free spirit. He was a hunter. He lies blood, look like that. Even his nickname Edom, bloody, red. He was hairy, and he was the typical person that goes to the outdoors, But we say today, he's a person of outdoors that didn't like to be inside the home. From the other side, Jacob is described again like his father, a very mild person. And he dwelt in the tents. By the way, when in the scriptures say that he dwelt in the tent, doesn't mean necessarily that he was kneading and he was cooking, That was not the idea. It's different to be a hunter. The hunter didn't need to go out and go outside the field and looking for prey to hunt. When we say that he lived in the tent, means that he was a herdsman. Okay? He was a shepherd. And we're going to see that they had animals. And he took care of the animals. Esau didn't like to be a shepherd. He liked to hunt, to catch his food. And what happened? Isaac was more similar to Jacob. And Rivka was more similar to Esau. Rivka has a very high spirit, Oh boy, she was fiery. But, and it's not interesting, they say, psychologically speaking, they say, opposites attract each other. For the good or bad reason, but they attract each other. Well, Rivka liked Jacob, he was calm. And the mild Isaac, like his wild son Esau. And I imagine that he was living through Esau what he was not. A hunter, a free will, a free spirit, going out, going hunting and killing and doing those things that men, macho men do. Well, this is the preamble of this story. And you can see here already what I call it a dysfunctional family. They say that we Jewish people were very dysfunctional. Now you need to know that they come from a long way. You know, and there was almost a division between parents. You know, in psychology, they tell you that the firstborn goes to the father, the secondborn goes to the mother, and it goes like that, you know. The even numbers go to the father, the odd numbers go to the mother. It's the opposite. Even is the mother, and the odds is the you. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you. I am glad I am correct. And this is how, in psychology, they work. If you examine among yourself, parents that you have children, and you are yourselves as a parents, you know, what are my favorites? Of course, the parents don't have favorites. Okay? Of course. But you're going to see that always is this. The father is with the firstborn, the mother with the second, third, and fourth. Now, what happened is the firstborn is a girl and the second is a boy. Usually what happens is the father cares for both of them, the first one and the second. But if the two are, for example, two boys, what is going to happen is that the father is going to like the firstborn and the second is going to be to the mother. If there are two girls, the first one is going to be for the father, the second one is going to be for the mother. You know, we go to say, but it's a boy and a girl. The second born is a girl. That's a father. Why? Because two different genders. That's how, more or less in psychology, they tell you about relationships between parents and children. But here, what is interesting is that there is a very clear division of who likes what. You know, the parents are divided. And we're going to see something. Who was the strong will among the parents? Rivka. And Rivka had a purpose. She saw Isaac, and she overheard Isaac when he was talking to his son Isaac, his firstborn, and say, go hunt something, bring me a game, and cook it for me the way that I like it, because I'm going to give you a blessing. Rivka, that was listening behind the tent, she immediately called Jacob, and Jacob, who was obedient with the mommy, he does everything what mommy does, even that he's not too sure about it. And we are going to see again Jacob and Isaac acting, reacting. Both of them were not sure about what they were doing, but they didn't do anything to change. As soon as Isaac comes back and realizes that he has been deceived, you know, he gets mad and he wants to scream, and he says that he's going to hate him. As soon as my father goes away, my brother is going to disappear. Basically creates an antagonism, creates enmity between brothers. But Rivka very wisely say, get away, because after your brother comes down. She knew her two sons, and she knew that Isaac could get very mad in the moment, but after a while, forgotten. He will be playing again, you know. He showed that through the moment that he sold his birthright to his brother. And here I want to emphasize something. The, Jacob knew how important was to be the firstborn, to have the birthright, because he had the understanding about the calling of his grandfather. Remember that they were alive when Abraham Avinu was still alive. They had heard him about the God that had brought him from Aram and brought it to this new land, the Canaan. And all the stories that he has told that he went through. And I am sure that Jacob was like a sponge, listening every word of his grandfather. Then he knew about the great calling. Esau didn't have that calling, to the end that he didn't even care. The word that is used here when he sells the birthright for a plate of lentils, basically he's saying, I am dying, I am starving to death. Now, he's a hunter. He has been doing it. Do you think he couldn't wait a little bit to prepare something? No, but he was dying. Well, he's the kind of person that he wanted to eat. And the word that is used there when he ate doesn't use that he ate. The word that is used, he gulped. He ate like an animal. And after he finished eating, and he gave, of course, signed the rights of his birthright, he left and he didn't care. That's the word. He didn't care about his birthright. Now he's complaining that his father didn't give it the blessing. You need to understand, if he didn't care, what Jacob did was doing a favor to him. The problem is how he did it. But he did it because his mother told him to do it. I'm telling you, this looks like very complicated. The mother, Rivka, told Jacob to deceive his father. What he done? She prepared the food. He said, bring me 2 animals and kill it, and I'm going to prepare the food that your father loves. And then I'm going to put you in the neck and in the arms, a piece of the skins of the animal, and you're going to be hairy like your brother, and I'm going to put his best clothes that he has, and when your father will touch you and smell you, he's going to know that you are Esau. By the way, you read carefully. Isaac was not totally convinced that was Esau who was giving this. He saw that was Jacob. Now, many people interpreted that he heard the voice and he said, that's not you. You're not talking like Esau, you're talking like Jacob. By the way, here doesn't mean the tone of voice. Look about how he spoke. It was very obvious that Esau was more gentle, more polite to talk. Jacob was more polite to talk, and Esau was more, more from the field, more direct. Then, what do you say when somebody talks like that? And he understood that Esau was not that polite. No, something wrong with you. But then he smelled it, touched it. He couldn't make a distinction of the voice. What made a distinction was the manner. This is the idea. Because he was not that, maybe he was blind, but he could understand other things. If he knew the voice was not Esau, he immediately will stop it. But he went through, and he gave the blessing. When Esau comes back and prepares everything, you know, already his brother had done it, and Isaac said, oh, your brother has deceived you. Deceived me and deceived you. And then this idea about Jacob becomes very bad. He got things through the wrong way. I want to ask you the simple question. It was already the will of the Creator that Jacob was going to be the line that was going to be from Israel. Did he need any help from us or from Rivka or from Jacob himself to take that position? Think about that. Well, our sages, they give different explanations, and sometimes they want to clear Jacob's act. There are other sages that they're going to talk about this special rule. It's called midot kenegdo midot, measure for measure. And then later on, we are going to see that Jacob suffered the consequences of his actions. And he's going to have a very hard time with his uncle Laban, and he is going to be deceived the same way that he deceived his father, and there's going to be the change, you know, he changed his side to be the firstborn with his brother Esau, and now Laban is going to do the same thing. He changed the order. Rachel was the youngest, and now he's going to give it to him as a wife, the oldest. You know, you're going to see many pictures about measure for measure. And he's going to keep suffering that situation for 20 years until he is able to get out of the under his father-in-law, and he comes back, and we are going to see later on in his re-encounter with Esau. I'm going to leave it like that. Now, and let me talk a little bit about Esau, because it's very important. Esau has a lot of things that are very interesting, and has a lot of messianic innuendos too. For example, if you start studying about Esau, and you study the Midrashims and the rabbis, what they talk about Esau, there is two sides for Esau. From one side, he's very bad. From the other side, he's very good. You know, this idea, for example, that the reason that in the birth, when Esau comes first and Jacob holds on him, if Jacob doesn't hold on him, maybe he will be dead in the wombs of the mother. And he come out, and indirectly, Esau saved Jacob. Another very interesting thing. In Gematria, the numerical value of Esau is equal to the word shalom, 376. Then there is a relationship in Gematria that Esau is going to bring shalom. And the question is totally the contrary when we read in the scripture, give it a totally different idea. Esau is going to bring division. And then after bringing division, he's going to bring peace. And you see here, at the end, Jacob needed to leave running away from the land and become exile. And when he came back, he had an encounter with Esau, and he was afraid that Esau was going to kill him and would destroy all his family. And it's totally the opposite. Not only that they were made peace again. And we read that they depart from his side, and Jacob never trusted Esau, But Esau never did anything wrong to him. Was later on the descendants of Esau, the Edomites, who acted against Israel. But later on, according to the rabbis, in the Messianic times, Esau is going to bring back again, like in the birth, Esau is going to revive Israel. Now, for the rabbi, who represents Esau? The Roman Empire at the beginning, and later on was the Christianity, the Christendom. No? Now, Baal Turim, that is a rabbi that wrote about this area, is talking about Esau and Shalom, and to bring it back Israel. And they're going to be in the Messianic times, when the Mashiach comes back, that is going to be a revive Israel that was almost dead and being resurrected and bring it back. Now, very interesting idea that have been brought among the rabbis. The name Esau, it is, if you change the form of the word, is Shear. And if you added the Yod, will be Yeshua. Okay? That Yod, who represents the presence of God or the Creator, when Esau changed, he is going to represent in certain ways a type of Messiah. Do you remember among our sages, what is the earliest messianic prophecy that we have? It's in Genesis, no? Bereshit. And what is that the Satan is going to be crushed, his head, and he is going to crush the heel. What is the heel? A cave. If you a cave, you added a Jude. What I mean? Jacob. If you added a Jude to Esau and they put it in the incorrect way, means Yeshua. Then they talk about pictures. And the picture is in this way. What is very interesting, that made me think a lot about what the rabbis tell us. That in order that Israel becomes Israel again, it's going to be helped by the Gentiles. What Yeshua did. And this is something that I have been trying to teach to my Jewish community and also to the Gentile community. If you look at Yeshua as the one that brought the Torah to all humanity, you're going to see and make those Gentiles who follow Yeshua, they make them supposedly pro-Torah. But one of the problems that has happened today is that it's totally now the contrary. Using the name of Yeshua in the name that they use, Jesus Christ, he has become an anti-Torah. From the other side, Israel, if we make Israel based on a rabbinical Judaism, how they define it, they has make it the Torah to be only for them. Totally the contrary, that what our Creator gave the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu, to give it to Israel, in order that Israel will be a nation of priests, a holy nation, that they were going to be the Or Legoyim. And what is the light? The Torah was going to be light to all the nations. Then, if you see this parasha, you're going to see a lot of little innuendos, or the way that we can say that the Mashiach is presented here. Isaac is very mild. Jacob is very mild, but he has character. Esau was very strong, but at the same time, he was very peaceful. Why? Because he could kill his brother and he didn't. Then, if we put all together, we can see the beautiful picture for the future. One day, Mashiach is going to be here with us, and he's going to do something that nobody else has been able to do. He's going to bring Israel and the world together. And we're going to become one again. And I say again because in the beginning, in Bereshit, was Adam and Eve, and there was one people. And that was from the beginning what was our Creator's intention, to be one people. We have different roles, but we are one people. And all under the banner of the Torah. Now, we have been talking much about who is a Jew, what is Messianic, what it means Gentiles, what it means this and that. And the problem is this, that we have become so ethnocentric that we have lost the compass of the Creator. The Creator doesn't make one better than the other. What it makes is give us roles to each one of us to fulfill that calling. I call it the calling. It's the Creator who calls us. You know, He gives a role to man, He gives a role to a woman. He gives a role to a person, He gives another role to another person. Not all of us, we are the same in the way that what I would like to do. But as human beings, we have the same value. The problem is that our humanity has grown in this area. They have become so nationalistic that they are preaching that they are the best in the world, and they are the only ones that are the best. And that was not when the Creator made Israel. Whereas Israel had a function, a role, to bring us all the nations of the world to have that revelation that was given in Har Sinai, the beautiful teaching, those beautiful values, those beautiful principles that are for everyone. Doesn't matter where you're coming from. Those values are good for all humanity. If only all the world will keep these basic 10 words, 10 commandments, our world will be totally different. Because we were under one principle and value. A value who has one Creator. We care about ourselves, but we have a value in human life, and we respect our neighbors. That's what it teaches. And that supposedly was going to be the role of Israel. let me ask you this simple question. Is Israel today doing that? You know, I'm going to tell you something. One of the saddest things I see today is what the United Nations is doing with Israel. Israel is being chastised, being punished, being totally talked bad about Israel. Because Israel, the little bitty country, Israel, is looking for being a country for the Jewish people. Israel, being such a little country, helps more countries in the world than any other country, including the United States and China, who are big powers, and Russia. When there is a catastrophe, any part of the world, you're going to see Israel participate even with their own enemies. Do you know that right now, in the Golan Heights, Israel has put what we call hospitals, field hospitals. And they are treating their enemies. The Palestinians, when the United Nations has declared that Israel it is infringing the human rights and destroying the poor people, Palestine. The Palestinians who live in Israel, they have the highest level of life than any other Arab people. They have the best medicine in the world. And even they send from the territories, they send their people who are ill to the hospitals in Israel, and they are treated the best way that Israel knows how to, with no making differentiation of who they are treating. Nobody talks about that. Even the Palestinians themselves, they know that they're better in Israel than in the Arab countries. And what is interesting, this is a phenomenon that's happening right now. That most of the Arab people who live in Israel, they do not want to go to live in the Arab countries because they know they're better treated in Israel. Why this bad name for Israel? Who is the one that doing that? The Arab people, the Palestinians. Because they do not want the shalom. They don't want to peace with Israel. Then there needs to come somebody outside from Israel to bring that shalom. But that somebody, at the same time, needs to be part of Israel by direct relationship. Esau will become the turning point, because it's going to be a point in which the nations of the world that are going against Israel, they are going to see the injustice that they are committing against little bitty Israel. That's it when many of us will wait for the Messiah to bring that shalom to all of us. And these countries who one time were enemies of Israel, they were going to become friends of Israel, and they are going to live at or resurrect Israel. And all Israel is being covering the rest of the world. We're talking about here from the past to the present, and we're going to see what is coming next. The present today is very bad, very sad. What we are seeing right now is totally the contrary. Have you asked yourself why the whole world is against Israel? what Israel has done to these people, to the rest of the nations, only based on innuendos and hate. That is not true. By the way, Israel today is like any other nation in the world. There are good people and bad people. But you need to see how they act as a nation. You need to see how they help those ones that are in need. You need to see what is happening right now from Israel. All these new inventions in medicine and technology. That is no coincidence. That is no casualty. That is something that has been programmed by the Creator. Because Israel, wanted or not, has not stopped being lied to the world. I wish that could be different. And now we have Jacob and Esau. And we are going to see that Jacob is going to go through a lot of problems. In Judaism, they have a term, Hoblei Shear HaMashiach. That means the birth pains of childbirth. Before the child is born, the mother goes through a lot of pain. The same way that Rivka went through, we are going to see that this the idea that the Messiah is coming. And we are during this time. I hope that we can see this more and more, because history is being fulfilled right now in front of our own eyes. Who could believe that in 1948 we are going to start a new state of Israel? A nation that supposedly people that had disappeared, was massacred, was killed, was persecuted everywhere that they were. And this little state has flourished so much that in these few years, from 1948 to until today, is among the 10 most advanced nations in the world. It's among the 10 more advanced nations in that short period of time. And you have nations that they have been forever, and they don't have the same position. We are talking about a miracle, and a miracle is coming soon. Let's pray for the coming of Messiah. Ani me'amin be'emunah shelema be'via HaMashiach. Shabbat Shalom.